iRacing.
A showdown as far as this championship now sets itself up. We head to familiar territory, and one which in the modern world of Formula Racing is about to go on a share cycle. But this track is the dyno test for many a Formula vehicle out there. There's a reason why they come here in winter testing to this circuit of Barcelona. Welcome to Montemelo in Spain and to action here on the Global SimRacing Channel of the iRacing Grand Prix Tour. My name's Jake Sperry. Alongside with me in the box for this one is Craig King, with Christian Deploy in the director's chair, using the cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But this is one of the more known quantities in the world of motorsport. It's been around for about 35 years in terms of Formula Circle on a Formula One calendar. But if you haven't seen what this track of the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya can bring in the spectacle of the historic layout that we've got, here's your little GSRC track guide to show you around.
Welcome to Circuit de Barcelona. The home of the Spanish Grand Prix for nearly 30 years, it's easy to forget that this is a relatively recently built track in Europe. It's known for its long, sweeping corners and hosts the highest level of open-wheel and motorcycle racing. Placing an emphasis on a good aerodynamic setup with high downforce cars, it's often overlooked that it offers plenty of overtaking for lower-tier racing as well. In fact, most don't take into account that this adaptable track has 5 different layouts to choose from. These range from the nearly 3-mile-long Grand Prix version to the minuscule 1-mile club circuit. Because of the pit straight being the longest acceleration zone, Elf is the most likely spot for drivers to get a pass done. After that, your next hope might be into La Caixa, which, depending on which layout you use, could be a sharpened set of 2 turns or one long hairpin with an opening radius. In the early 2000s, a chicane was added close to the end of the lap, but the old Europe car corner can still be run. The Spanish fans have some gorgeous views from the many hills dotted along the track. And with the international fame this place has built over time, it's no wonder they're almost always full come race day.
Well, Craig, this is a circuit that will test everyone, and one thing it will test more than anything else, it's the tyres here today.
Do you know, I can hear Freddie Mercury just singing in the background, singing Barcelona. No, this is actually going to be a real test for the tyres. It's not the same tyres that they would bring in the real world. There's also that elevation change you have to worry about. A lot of high-speed corners, mid-speed corners. That's why they come here in testing, because you get a little bit of everything. Not just because the conditions here in Spain are fantastic in the winter, but because you get a nice test of everything that you want to do. You've got a lot of late braking and hard braking. You look at that for turn 1, you look at that for turn 10. Key things there, DRS zones as well, so you're gonna have to watch out there going into Alpha and Lacacia. Going around the final 2 corners though, that's gonna be the killer. Back in the day, I'm talking a bit like I'm an old man here, Jake. Back in the day, there was no straight between 12 and 13. There was a little chicane that, thankfully, we've got rid of nowadays.
Yeah, it's reverted back to type then, that fast and difficult run over to the final corner out on circuit that was formerly known as New Holland and now is part of Catalunya. So everybody will be searching about then, trying to say, okay, I want this lap to be the one that holds me above everybody else, because qualifying is just a few moments away. But more importantly than that, how the championship stacks up moving into this round. And Eduardo Radiz has led the championship from the drop of the green flag of this season, but critically as reigning champ, he's got the 2-time champ Jacob Reed behind him at 19 points adrift. James Byrne pulls himself back closer to 2 points away on 59 adrift, with Volta Lux in 4th. He's 1 clear of Sander Haugerud in his debut season. Jeffrey Lawler finds himself in 6th with a non-start for Mario Bodlosh, and he won't be here again today, so he'll drop more points in the table, with Alex Hagland in 8th, Leopold Steneros, the Swede, in 9th. And your top 10 rounded out by the South African George van Rensburg, who is there trying to leapfrog his way up into a stronger scoring position. But, Craig, this is going to be a long old race for these drivers with 65 laps on the table.
65 of your best laps for round 9 of a 20 4-race season. And it is open setup, so use the iRacing baseline, make a set of yourself, or use one that some people from the community will provide. But if you crash, your day is done. There is no spare car out there today. What there is, though, is 17 incident points for a drive-through every 8. Remember, because of the longer race, it's every 8 for an additional pet drive-through. That won't be a disqualification, of course. And with how this track is, with some of the older track limits here, 17 incident points on 65 laps, you can get close to that, in all due fairness, Jake.
You absolutely can, and I wouldn't be shocked to see it. We have seen drivers over the course of this season hit that limit, least of all Eduardo Radice, who did so at Mugello at the second round of the championship. So 4 minutes 20 left on the clock here, and everybody is now looking to scarper themselves around and get their times on the board, and it's a couple of Swedes who are there and sorting. Eduardo Radice has just thrown his lap away, so he will not be improving on anything that he's got out there. So massive disaster out there for him, not getting himself the lap time that is necessary. So I would turn around and look at, well, who can stand up on song and get there, because we could have a very shuffled order, Craig.
It could be a shuffled order, and it may also change the strategy later in the race for him. Here's a driver that's been going around, Sebastian Ricau, on his second lap, and just watch this when you start to see what he has to do down here. Comes out of what was Seat, and now he's just going to decide, I've made a mistake as well. So a lot of drivers pushing the limit here. Does feel like that they're just over pushing to try and get that time. 39 Celsius track temp, by the way, 103 Fahrenheit. They're going to be feeling that temperature through these laps.
Well, temperature's one thing. The blustery wind at the moment is the other. 16, 17 kilometers an hour. It is going to whip around these corners, and it is going to create a nightmare out there. Jeffrey Lawler, who on its last 3 finishes in the iRacing Grand Prix Tour, if you disclude the DNF, has been 5th, and 5th. This is an absolute shake-up for the books as far as qualifying is to go, because Jacob Reed's not found the time that he's wanted. Neither has James Byrne. Neither has Eduardo Radice. So your top 3 are all stuck down the order. Lawler with an absolutely wonderful chance here to jump himself up and create a jumper march on everybody else. He'll come to the line, and it's good enough for 6th place there on a 1:14.2. So we are really seeing the differences being made. And how about a hometown hero out there going with 2 minutes to go through Repsol at turn 4 for Gerard Borel?
Yeah, Charles Burrell's going to do this. I think a lot of drivers having some issues out there with hardware or something out there, hence why Jacob Reed only set 1 lap. I wonder if he's had an issue with the sim, but look at the way you attack Wurf here going up to turn 7, now into turn 9. Very flat here through what used to be Campster. DRS on, you can see there the wing is open, and then hard braking. Where's you want to brake here for Laketia, and he brakes. I think he turned in a bit too early there, because the car he had to fight all of a sudden. Farouk bonks Abadel, he'll go, and I think those tires will be a little bit overheated here. Don't look at the top, but I think a top 10 with the way the field's been is going to be very hopeful.
Well, he'll be certainly trying to get this one around to the line and say, look, we're going to score this one with a good qualifying attempt. That's good enough for 9th on a 1:15.3 with a lot of drops happening. I think about half the field has suffered here in qualifying in some way, shape or form. Very atypical. We're in the middle of a week 13 build, which makes life tough. Can Dennis Branch, who's normally a very good qualifier, put himself up in the wheelhouse? It's Hagland, Steneros, Haugeru, Goshman and Rekov, your top 5 as far as it goes. Out of the final corner, over towards the line, and it won't count for Dennis Branch. He'll remain in a lucky 13th, which is only lucky for some as they get themselves ready for action. So, with that in mind, field then is set, and a lot of drivers unable to get their second lap time in the way that they would have wanted to. So they're going to have to turn around and say, look, we've got to go and improve at a level better than everybody else. But if you are Swedish, this is a wonderful run out there. So that is going to be a case of Alex Hagland and Leopold Steneros, who will house the front row of the grid. Sander Haugerud will go from third, with Ali Goshman, a career best qualifying for him, in fourth after his first points last time out at Long Beach. Sebastian Rekov starts fifth with Jeffrey Lawler sixth. It then leads to Florian Kammeyer and James Byrne on row 4. Your top 10 rounded out by Gerard Burrell, and a first start for Aaron Full.
James Byrne, by the way, just taking a disconnect. Might have to be a pit lane start, but for George Van Rensburg, it'll be 11th for him. Walter Lux as well, looking to capitalize on last week in 12th. Then it's Dennis Branch in 13th and Edward Apariari in 14th. Lal Pino will be 15th, and look at that name. That's a surprise. Jacob Reed in 16th. Kelp Nielsen 17th and Max Barnes 18th. Eduardo Regis, that's a bigger shock, in 19th. Adam Williams, last of the time qualifiers, in 20th with one name on their own. Ballas Gallia did not set a lap time, will start at the back.
Two things to note. I'll correct myself. Aaron Full has made one start. It was a DNF in 2024 for him. Alex Hagland, his first ever pole position here in the iRacing Grand Prix Tour, and he will smile about the fact that he is on the front. So 65 laps as they will look to set themselves on the grid. They've got 2 minutes to get themselves up on, or they have to choose to start from pit lane as quickly as they can. And many drivers are going to be jumping in at the 11th hour to try and get themselves in and to get their qualifying or get into the grid and say, look, we're going to start and we're going to be absolutely uber aggressive with it. So as they are getting themselves ready, they understand that this is going to be one of the longest runs to turn number 1 out there. You've got to make sure that you get yourself through without any worry or trouble at all. This is going to be about survival of the fittest here today. And if you can get yourself running forward, knowing what you're capable of, this could be the day for you. But with James Byrne out of position, with the likes of Volta Lux back there, Jacob Reed, Eduardo Radice, this could be a very topsy-turvy start to action here. And whoever gets a good jump off of the front of this field is going to be happy. Engine notes up here from Barcelona, and for a crazy start, which has seen the unpredictable before, we're underway. Haugerud doesn't get the best of starts. What a launch by Alex Hagland. Here goes Jeffrey Lawler. He's going to be looking around for second here off the get-go. What a lightning start by the American, who goes for the race lead down the inside. Contact between him and Hagland. Jeffrey Lawler takes the race lead. Second now for Leopold Steneros, and Alex Hagland back in third, running through turn 3 to Repsol here at turn 4. Everybody has made their way through, but Lawler cutthroat at the start of this race.
Absolute cutthroat. When was the last time you saw somebody go up 5 places? And I believe that it's Williams in the background just going off in the gravel. James Byrne up 3. Rensburg now up 4. Lux up 2. It's not been the best of starts out there for some of the big names out there. I see Radice is only up 2. Reed's up 3. In fact, here he is right now. He's having a little bit of a struggle out there, but it was a very chaotic start in the back. I counted almost 4 wide coming off the line.
Yeah, and so it was all about how do you find your way to jump up, and Jacob Reed trying to get himself to the top 10 where points score. It was a case of just a car on his own for Adam Williams in his spin, but he's having to fight hard here, and he knows a thing or two about jumping through the order. He gets by Gerard Burrell. His career best finish is a 4th place. Everybody has started on the medium compound tyres here today, as we expect this to be a 2 or a 3-stop race. James Byrne looking to make some good progress. There's a lot of side-by-side. No DRS until lap 3. He thinks about the inside there on Sander Haugerud, but Haugerud's got it covered. Big wide arcing line needed here through turn 3.
Yeah, and just remember as well, the dirty air is going to be affecting them. That's why back in the day, some drivers would be like, I don't like this track in the real world because you can't make many overtakes. Well, we've seen it here. I think Haugerud going a bit too wide there, but compromises any line there for James Byrne. He'll get a good run here, but very tough coming down at turn 7 at Worth to really look for a move. But he's going to try this into the braking zone. Gets it done. Great. Now, I'm surprised here. Jacob Reed's got up now +5, Jake. I'm surprised some of these drivers at the back who needed to go up, I would have thought a soft tyre start would have been on the card for them. I know it would have cost them an issue on the first pit stop, but I feel some of them would have wanted to try and get an advantage early doors, but they don't need to at the moment.
have it a drop for Ali Goshman out from inside the point, so that's going to see him out of the race then. And on recovery, Nielsen down in the pit sets himself up with a set of soft tyres, and so he'll be looking to try and go out there and really attack for it. So Lawler leads, then in second, Agland is third, James in fourth, then it's Van Rensburg and Aaron Full in second place. Behind that, here goes look, lunging down the inside, gets the pass on Rekov.
Gets it done, and that's also going to be just now. He didn't get it with DRS. DRS now enabled this time by. Remember, it's the old F1 rules, so it's 3 laps, not 2 laps. As we're on board with Jacob Reed, the Worcesterman there is Goshman officially out now, officially a drop. Kamai going a bit wide there, and there's still a lot of gravel there from Williams's spin on the first lap, so drivers will be probably going a little bit wide there. They'll get caught out by that gravel. Did I see some too wide up ahead? I did. Aaron Full getting past George Van Rensburg. We always like to see Van Rensburg on the broadcast, don't we, Mr. Director? As the South African, unfortunately, going a little bit backwards after a really good start. Check out these jumps, by the way. Well, it's going to be +3 now, +5 for Lawler, 4 for Byrne, 4 for Foyle, 4 for Van Rensburg, 4 for Lux. It could be 5, 6 for Jacob Reed. Everyone is really making up time here.
Yeah, they're making jumps, they're making gains, they're making this one nice and easy. Lux on the outside, nothing he can do. George Van Rensburg holds his ground and maintains that 7th position then as he works on by. For the lead, though, Jeffrey Lawler hasn't been able to break away. There's a little look for that race lead, but nothing offered there by Leopold Staneros. They'll stay as they are as your top 3. I note, though, Eduardo Radiz, he came in, he made his stop, he's come out the other side of it here. I see him at this moment in time as far as what he is running on a set of red-walled soft compound tyres. I think he switched early, knowing he was mired in the pack, Craig, to a 3-stop strategy.
What did I say? I would have thought that would have been he would have been one of the drivers. I would have thought, well, start on the softs, see what you get. But I think he's decided it's probably not worth it. Let's go for that early stop. Let's just race in clear air and get to the end. He'll be in a lot of clear air running now for the rest of the race. I think that's a really good idea for him. So we'll look for that as well as Alex Hagland will come around. One thing we've not mentioned here, Jake, as we see Reed right behind. I know we usually should be shocked at Reed being down as he is. This is one of the highest strength of fields we've ever had. 5,660. This is a stacked field out there. The lowest iRating, it's only just under 5. It's actually 4.3K. That's kind of unheard of for a 21-car field in this series.
It is, and they're just getting them a lot up higher and higher. And for Radiz, a lot of what that stop was about was a front wing change, so it made all the difference as Full makes himself then known as he tries to deal with George Van Rensburg, who's back through up into 6th place, getting the pass done down the hill into turn number 1. So that made that one nice and easy. They've formed packs here in this group, so I would say leading pack is Lawler, and I would argue it goes all the way back to Florian Kamar in 11th. And then it's Dennis Branch and co. who's back to Balazs Gallia in 18th place. So you're getting the real sense of where everyone is. 17th, sorry. So you get a real sense of where this pack is. And Jeffrey Lawler here is proving to be very tough. And look at why he's very tough to get by. No bevel on that rear wing. He is running a medium downforce set. Everybody else is on a high downforce package.
Yeah. And that's the key thing here. Sometimes you just got to look at the wing, and that's fantastic. That's one good thing about iRacing, that you get to see that. So you really get to see the ability to know what other people are racing, and that's going to be interesting, especially when Leopold's going to come around this corner right now. He knows he's in DRS range. You'll see the wing probably open. I know it's a little bit hard to see, but you'll see his wing open. There it is. He will catch up, but you look at the speeds. Well, he's only about 4 kilometers an hour faster than Lawler, but then he has to get on the brakes and start lifting a little bit earlier. He's not making any inroads here on trying to get past Lawler. Lawler is just going to be controlling this, and it's not a train. This is a genuine pace that Lawler has right now.
And you've got to turn around and say, right, if you can't make the move on Jeffrey Lawler, then Hagland can't make the move, and neither can Byrne or Haugerud or Van Rensburg or Lux or Full or Reed, as Lux is now up into 7th place. And we note as well that James Byrne is there now in 4th, trying to eye up 3rd. Jacob Reed in 9th is on the back of this, and all the while, they'll be keeping a very close eye on what that pace is. Look at James Byrne up to Campsa Corner. You never go too wide at Campsa Corner. He's looking everywhere for a pass on Alex Hagland, launches one down the inside, but he doesn't quite have the codes for the pass up to 3rd.
No, it's a very tough corner, Lucchese, this version of it. This is historic on the old layout of Barcelona. So it's similar to what they run nowadays, but it's the motorbike hairpin at Lucchese. So it's a tight entry and then widens up. You're almost basically just taking the left to make the corner and then full speed around it. You see that long train. I just had to have a look, Jake. Only one other driver to Lawler is running that same downforce, and it's Gerald Borrow, who's already down 5 places, down in 14th. Everybody else with that beveled wing. Very interesting to see the different strategies there. This could be a masterstroke from Lawler.
And this is what we talk about in terms of racing prowess here, Craig. To go and be quick on 1 lap pace, it's beneficial to have the downforce. To be race ready, you take the downforce off.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one driver who hasn't taken the downforce off, the soft tyres and the clear edge working for them. Radice, 2 seconds faster. There is the Italian. 2 seconds faster than the whole track. In fact, I think only one other driver, or 2 drivers, sorry, in the 17s at the moment. That's Apariari, and that is Williams. Neither of them with dirty air, with the dirty air in front of them, and that just goes to show that the clear air really working right now. And I do wonder if this by Lawler is this just a little bit of strategy. Just solidify your tires, solidify your pace. Just keep this. If you're constantly doing 18s for all the pace, that's fine. Wait to see what happens when those tires start to burn up. Is this the closest Stenhouse has been? It is, but again, look, he's barely going fast. I think 10 kilometers an hour faster this time, and he'll try to go around the outside of Alf, and he gets it done.
Oh, lovely. That's a lovely pass. Used the downforce brilliantly. And now Lawler's going to suffer in the dirty air. And this is going to be a very good moment. Here comes James Byrne looking for 3rd here. Down at Repsol Corner. Gets into the side of Alex Hagland. Now needs to drive back down the hill into the next left-hander. They got traffic in front of them as well. But James Byrne swooping around the outside of turn 5. Gets himself the pass at Sayat Corner and says, I want Jeffrey Lawler next.
Do you hear that, Jake? Do you hear the sound of a cork coming out of a champagne bottle? Because look how Stenhouse has started to pull ahead of Lawler here. And I wonder if this could actually be that train. Let's see what Stenhouse's time is going to be when he comes around this time. Because this pack here really struggling to just try and find their way, make their way through. And I think once that starts to go, we may see a little bit more. And I talk about that with downforce. Burrow as well, the other driver with that same downforce package. He's gone down a couple positions. I want to keep my eyes on this with the times for Stenhouse. Now he's ahead though, because you see what Radice is doing, and everyone will know Radice went purple 2 laps ago.
Yeah, Eduardo Radice is the man who is flying, but he's got an extra stop to go. James Byrne runs wide. He has to skirt across the gravel and the grass to get himself back out. All that work and effort is G-O-N-E gone out there for him, and that is all down to the fact he's tried to outbrake Jeffrey Lawler. There was contact between them as Lawler pinched across the line, and there is no love lost between 2 Americans. Now Aaron Full runs a little bit wide, and Byrne has the chance to get back on the noisy pedal again. Disaster for him. He's now going to have to be uber aggressive, and now slow on the left is Kent Nielsen, letting all of the traffic go by.
I wonder, we're going to probably see a replay of this. I wonder if Burns thought that, well, Stenhouse did it, I might be able to do it. Let's just see. This is Adam Williams, by the way. Different moment. This was at the start of the race. Cold tires, trying to go around the outside. Knew he had a car on the inside, so tried to tighten up that exit. And I think just those cold tires said goodbye. It's a little bit unfortunate there. You can see the compounds, the back drivers, all on the sauce right now. But look at the time that man, that number 2 has been doing. Eduardo Radice doing working really well. And Burns, I wonder if he's got some damage to the wing, because he's coming right now. This could also be a case to just get some clear air, but I wonder if also he's picked up some damage.
Yeah, there'll be an element of that. Lap 10 of 65. He'll really have to extend on 2 soft tyres if he wants to do it that way. And so I would contest that the tyres there, looking around that front wing damage, is going to be big in terms of what they deal with now. George Van Rensburg promotes him up into the top 5 as he looks around for a very strong result out there as he fights Sander Haugerud on his rookie season. Into turn 4 they go, and it's not really much to say with in terms of that regard. George Van Rensburg, by the way, hasn't had a top 5 finish, Craig, since Portimao last year.
Well, I've been here since then, so I maybe wonder if I'm the curse. I'm not entirely sure, but Rensburg just having not the best of luck. Having some really good driving, and then it just all falls apart. And look at it. Everyone just concertinaing up there to to look to see if they can do anything. And I wonder if this is just the Lawler effect. That downforce is now really hurting him. I wonder if the tire wear is starting to pull off as well as Rensburg comes in. I've been looking as well, Jake, at the pit times and the way it burns. Well, I think James definitely did have to get a nose. 2 seconds slower than Radice. Burrows into the pit. Here comes Van Rensburg. I wonder if he's got it with the DRS, because there is a little bit of DRS there for Haugerud. But now can't get it. And also in front, he's going to do 2-1-2. No, he can't.
Bang! And just like that, a boom so soon for Lawler, and he will drop so far down the order here. Pariari is there, and when you are the cork in the bottle, you just wait for that moment. George Van Rensburg jumped for it down the inside, and suddenly now everybody scrambles, and it's a free-for-all as they work on through. Kammeyer trying to get past Aaron Full, not getting there. Round goes Aaron Full, and he spins it on the exit on power.
That's a really rare mistake there, and now Aaron's going to have to wait for this cue to go. 5 seconds up, coming up is Eduardo Radice. Look at the gravel he's just put onto the track, but back to Walter Lux. A lot of people really making some moves here. Lux going to go up position on Van Rensburg. I think there's a lot of damage there as well on the wing. Probably also Lawler's absolutely got it there. Really rare mistake there from Van Rensburg.
Yeah, you don't often see it, but he is the driver with the most retirements in the series at 20, and you see this here. Hagelin gets through. Van Rensburg, I think, just chucks it in and hopes he gets there, and he just doesn't, because he's stranded there, is Jeffrey Lawler. He doesn't have as much downforce as everyone else. That's on George Van Rensburg in my book there, just being too aggressive into the corner, fighting in his own battle. He now comes in for a front wing change and to switch his strategy. So Steneros is your leader here. Alex Hagelin finds himself in second, and Walter Lux from 12th on the grid is third, and Jacob Reed from 16th is now fourth.
He's actually the one that's benefited more out of that moment there than the likes of Walter Lux. Absolute fantastic there, because now the field's just split up a little bit. If you get past, he doesn't have to worry about these guys behind us. Haugerud battling on Kammeyer. Here's another moment. This is Aaron Full. This is on his own. Just gets on the throttle all too much, and everyone does a good job there of avoiding the spin. Thankfully, he spun off onto the gravel. That could have been nasty, but he's fine and he's safe. But for Jacob Reed, I know we're looking at Haugerud right now, and in front of Haugerud is Kammeyer and then Reed. I tell you what, if Reed gets past Lutz here, the question's going to be when, not if, he catches up to the leaders.
Well, I think that when is going to be a very critical part of this race, because he's on a 3-stop strategy. So if he catches up, basically, he's on the same call as everyone else. With Radice in 14th, he's got to be the man on the move as far as it goes. Gerard Burrell is officially your first retiree of the race. Reason why? Wrong setup. Not enough fuel in the car, and ultimately, that does that. Jacob Reed with a lovely pass through on Walter Lux. Lux, the driver in the Grand Prix Tour, with the most 4th place finishes of anybody else.
Well, at least it's not an Albon-esque drive there from Lux every time, but he is the number 4 car. You just let the number 3 car go by to take P3. But he's fine. In all due fairness, as much as 4th place is not the place you want to be, consistency is key when you think about it. If he's a man that can constantly get there, and we saw what he could do last week, really does have that pedigree to just keep it consistent. That's what you want. That's why he is up there, a 7K driver. You don't need to be aggressive all the time, but you can just see the difference. He understands the situation. Jacob Foster, let him go. I'm going to just follow you on, see if I've still got life in these tires. And yeah, he's lap 13. He's still got life in these tires for another 10 laps or so, I would reckon. But he's going to have to be careful. Kammeyer right behind as well. And that's another thing, Jake. Is it going to be 2? Is it going to be 3 when it comes to stops? As Ballas Galliard comes around, that's the man that did basically the whole race on softs last week, if I remember right.
Yes, and so it's completely different the way this has changed up now, what they're looking at strategy-wise, with this being such a higher degradation circuit for the C2, C3 and C4 tyres that these Mercedes W13 tyres only have at every single race circuit, so it creates a massive amount of variety out there. Galliard on the back of Lawler looking for the top 10 out there and points, and he's scored on a couple of occasions this season, has Balázs Galliard, and so he'll be looking at getting more points in the back pocket as quickly as possible. Radice up to 13th as he dispatches of Max Barnes without any troubles, and a driver who will desperately be looking for points right now, Florian Kameyer. Believe it or not here, Craig, he hasn't scored points since Mugello on an 8th place finish. And this is a driver who last year who was winning races.
Yeah, you got to think that was also when we had the big moment, Reed and Radice not getting in the point stat race. So very interesting to see that now that both of those drivers have struggled, he's in the points and he's racing. And I wonder, now you've got past that initial first quarter of the race, maybe he's thinking luck's on his side this week. Maybe he's got a chance. We're on board with Radice as he looks over. This is our favorite camera because you can see when we come down to DRS zones, you'll see the lights on the steering wheel to say if they got DRS or not, and there won't be any DRS this time. Pariari comes into the pit. First driver really on a proper strategy that we're coming into the pit stead, so he'll be either going on the mediums, he'll probably be going on the softs, I would reckon. But that just goes to show if he comes in, what are the other drivers going to start to think right now? Because this time from Radice, he's still in the 17. So I think he's going to be all right in the softs for quite a while.
Yeah, the idea is you've got to get the mediums off because it's a slower race tyre than the soft tyre is at this point here for the Pirellis. So in that sense, you look at it and go, yeah, I'd much rather be on softs, but how much deg am I dealing with? How much time am I losing with an extra trundle down the lane? That's what they're having to weigh up in their minds every time they go about, as we focus on Lyle Pinar just outside the points with Galliard, with Lawler, and now with Eduardo Radice on the back. This is what you have to constantly weigh up in your mind. And I'd also be getting the thought process going here, Craig, of, okay, well, you've dealt with the tyre, but how much are you gaining back on the pit stop? The issue for Eduardo Radice here is he catches drivers like these, and now he's got to find a way by. And it's not as simple as you just blink and you go by them. You have to wait for the DRS to help you. It's that overtaking aid that helps you get there. And ultimately, Lyle Pinar's going to have just as much here as they all stand in the train behind Jeffrey Lawler once more.
Yeah, and you can see because he got held up there, Radice unable to really look for a move. Are we going to see a move here from Galliard? Yes. Can he slow it down in time? Yes. Lawler again struggling. Pinar with a struggle and round the outside with those softs that will start to feel a little bit wearing because these are softs on a full tank of fuel, so a lot of weight to carry around. But Radice having to go to that, and then the strategy now comes for Radice. Does he look to go mediums, and then he'll probably have to go for another set of mediums? Late braking. Well, he actually got caught out by the braking there of Jeffrey Lawler, and again, it's that downforce issue that Lawler's had there, and I wonder if that's now really starting to hurt as well as the damage, of course, because remember, he took a very hard side hit there from Van Rensburg earlier, but he's just been falling down the order ever since.
Walter Lux has dropped 2 places. He's gone in deep over at Lekaixa, turn 10, and by running wide, Kameyer and Haugerud have both found their sits back and waits. Radice now up into point as he gets by Balázs Galliard. They're all making moves as Jeffrey Lawler comes in to make a stop, but critically, Steneros and Hagland, nary a win between them.
Yeah, and actually, when you think about it, Hagland's finally back on the top step because, remember, he started on pole. Where did he go? What happened? He did not have the best of start, so he's just going to have to hold station right now. Here's Walter Lutz as well. And Lutz trying to look to see if he can make a move. And there's that issue. Remember earlier we saw that you can't go side by side from Kampster? I think it was Lawler going side by side at Kampster. Well, Lutz had the run, decided against it, got the DRS though, and I don't think Kameyer had that DRS on Haggerud there, and he was just like a duck on the water on their own, couldn't get under in time.
No, and because of that, Florian Kameyer, I think, is going to have to try and prioritise a finish here in this race, and he will know that better than anybody else. Kent Nielsen, by the way, has connected back in to try and watch the rest of this race, but he's currently labelled as out on our graphics, and if he does so, he will move tied with George van Rensburg for 20 retirement in the Grand Prix Tour. Max Barnes losing another one there. There goes James Byrne jumping on through, gaining the position. Byrne currently 10 seconds behind the 8 ball right now, which I would put at Eduardo Radice.
Well, that's not a nice thing. You call Byrne the 8 ball there. I think of him as the number 1 ball around there, but this is what James has to do now. He's on a different strategy, having to try to make this work as Van Rensburg as well, trying to make it work. Look at the speed difference compared to Barnes on those soft tires. He's going to have to go around, well, he was going to have to try and go around the outside of Repsol there at turn 4, but didn't have to as Barnes realized the situation. And there you go, the case of soft tires that are just about 5 laps old compared to those mediums that have been on for the whole race. The speed difference, the grip, was able to carry so much more speed through Renault just because he had those softs, and that's what these drivers will start to realize.
Because I don't know how to lose.
Well, he knows how to lose when he's at Long Beach or any American track, but when it's Europe, oh, does he love European tracks. And usually when you see leaders slingshotting, well, that's the Indy 500. That usually works. These two slingshotting at the front, well, you can do that for as long as you want. You just can't put down Jacob as Reed continues on. And now he's in the DRS range of Hagland. So that means he's also just going to get a double toe as Steneris is right there as well. So this is going to be very interesting for the first time for about, 6 laps? Reed's going to have to work a double toe here with that dirty air here through New Holland. And you can just see, keeping it really smooth there, but also a bit too far back to look to attack for some moves right now. But he may see the leaders go for a move, and once again, at the braking zone, Hagland retakes, but that's not going to help either of them because Reed is now on the tail.
Yeah, he's jumped on there, and there was a lot of passivity there from Leopold Steneros. He was not being the aggressor. He's just sitting back, letting the race come to him. Both of these drivers have finished second before in the Grand Prix Tour. Steneros has done it on more occasions than Alex Hagland has, as they, other way around. Hagland's done it more than Leopold Steneros has as they work through 5 and over towards turn 6. Max Barnes now in the pits, making his first stop of the race, but I would look at this next group at drivers who have been quite quiet here right now, who have done very well. Drivers like Dennis Branch, for example, as we take a look here at Byrne versus George van Rensburg into the right, and George van Rensburg dispatching the pass.
Yeah, remember, that's about 2 3-lap hole younger tyres on van Rensburg compared to Byrne. So I wonder if that's just the tyres starting to just play havoc out there. It's interesting. You look at Steneris here, you look at Hagland, they've been battling hard. Reed, well, he's happy to just follow right now, and I think he now knows that he's battling with the leaders. I know Radice is. I think Radice may have put himself in contention here to get into the race, because you think he took 27 seconds in the pits, cone to cone. Well, Radice is 10 seconds behind these guys, so Reed might be happy here at the moment, and this feels like a typical Jacob Reed drive in the pack, Jake. That's what it feels like to me. But if he realizes where Radice is, I know Radice may have to go to a free stopper. He might have a little bit of problems. Is that around the outside there? What a move as Van Rensburg tries to hold on.
Well, he's got it, and now James Byrne just follows in on the hard work on Balazs Gallia here to turn 4. They're going to have to figure it out between them. George arcing through in the top right of your screen, and it stays as they are. Jacob Reed close again to the back of Alex Hagland, and he needs to offer himself an overtake here if he wants to go up to second, but he won't find it just yet. But I think we're reaching that window now of your first real stops then off of the medium compound tyre onto a set of softs here. And I was looking at James Byrne, seeing George van Rensburg go through. I wonder, Craig, whether he's trying to baby the tyres to get it to a 2-stop window rather than a 3-stop window.
It would be smart. Temperature has dropped a little bit because we're in the afternoon, the later afternoon now. It's 5 o'clock sim time. So the track temp's now 34 Celsius. And I know we're still having to deal with that wind as well. And I wonder if it is just a case now of just maintaining and managing these tyres. And I wonder if that's why Reed hasn't looked to be the aggressor because remember, he had to go through the field. He's plus 13 for the day. We gotta go back to this because we've got South Africans on South Africans as Van Rensburg goes past Lyle Peanut, and James Byrne can't really do anything behind them. Pariari get past Balias Galliar as well. So these are the drivers that took early pit stops, really trying to see if they can make some moves out here. And here comes Byrne. He's going to try and catch Pinar napping here. That's a sign that those tyres are starting to fall off.
Yeah, they're fading a bit here, and James Byrne comfortably gets that pass through, puts him to 11th right now, and knows that George Van Rensburg is the difference between him and a top 10 as things currently stand. So there is still a long way to go in this race, still a lot that has to be unpacked, and a championship implication here, there and everywhere. Radice right now on 2 championship points from this. Jacob Reed on 15. He would take that gap from 19 championship points to just 6 as they would head on in towards the next round of the championship. Hagland back to the point as he takes the race lead. That next round of the championship, of course, being the Red Bull Ring, a circuit where Jacob Reed has won the last 2 times we've run it.
Well, what momentum it would be if he could get a good result out here today. If he could just get that result he wants here, take that confidence into Red Bull Ring, could be a very good day at the office. What's a good day at the office anyway? Remember, week 13, so you don't get a lot of driving around here. So some of these drivers probably would have been gnawing at the bone to get out here today as Hagland continues on. But I don't know if you noticed it, Jake. When Jacob got there to Elf at turn 1, he could have late broke there to make the move on Stenerus. He could have gone through at turn 2 as well to make the move. He's deciding against it. That's babying the tyres to me if I've seen anything like it. And I wonder if Hagland or Stenerus would be the first one to blink out of these 3. Reed looks pretty comfortable. He can't go into the pits and just get another set of tyres in 1 lap like he did a few weeks ago. He's going to have to do it the real way.
Well, in comes Volta Lux then to make his pit stop at the end of lap 23. So he's going to bite and try and undercut Hagland and Reed and Steneros. And I think that's really clever here from Volta Lux because he's only 2 seconds back and Delta looks like to be about 1.8 seconds. So 1 lap's difference, he could be there. And shockingly, Eduardo Radice will join him.
No, I like that. I like that, Jake. I know you think that's a shock. I like that. That now says that Radice is confirming he's doing a free stopper, but is he going back on the soft? This feels the car. Yeah, he is. This is the tyre he feels the most comfortable on, but look at it. He was running at that bottom end of the top 10. He was basically half a pit stop behind the leaders with that pace. I like this. Cool. If everybody else is going, let's go with them. I actually do like that decision.
Yeah, very much a case of whose decision-making is going to set themselves up in tow. And so by the time that he puts himself in play, he's going to be quite happy. Florian Kammeyer loses the place, then Sebastian Rekov. He's just run wide at turn 5 on the exit. We're just about to catch it now. So he drops it down into the corner, trundles off through the kitty litter, and Sebastian Rekov says, thank you very much. So Sebastian Rekov, by the way, that would absolutely love to start scoring some more points. He scored his first ever points in the championship back at Mugello, and he's been 11th next. Hagland is in and making his pit stop, so he's covering off with Steneros and Haugaru and Rekov here, and so the big threats are going to come along next. And I would look around at where Volta Lux is as they will come down the main straight. There goes Van Rensburg, no shocks there. Lux is the big one, and look out, because he's through on Haugaru and he is through on Leopold Steneros. Critically, he's not through on Alex Hagland, who's got a massive march out there. Steneros, I think, had a front wing.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what about this. Hagland now's got to get those tyres warmed up. And if we saw anything from last week on a short track, it could happen, but Lux just had a little bit of a slide. Haggerud not doing what he wants. Would have loved to get some more time up there, but can't. I did say that those two would blink first. Reed not doing it. Now, usually we say, is Jacob Reed going to react? Jacob Reed doesn't react. He just does what he wants. There's Alex Hagland continuing on. Just 2 cars yet to pit. And Jacob Reed, I can just tell you don't need to look at him. He's gone around again. He's continuing for more time. he can't do a one-stopper, Jake. It's not the track doesn't suit a one-stopper. He's not trying that. He can't be trying to extend this as long as he can as Kamaya comes in now. Reed's the last man to stop. When does he stop?
When he chooses to. And he's the only one who can stand up and say, I will do things that nobody thinks of in the aim of trying to go and win races. And that's what makes him so dangerous as a character. Haugaru then on the back of Leopold Steneros is going to get that papaya orange Mercedes to go through. I never quite heard of papaya orange Mercedes before, but that's what it is. Let's make the pass by Branch as well on the back, and then Eduardo Radice is the next car behind that. So it's a very aggressive pack that sits itself in position, and all the while interspersed between that, George van Rensburg, James Byrne and Edward Apariari. I would call them wild cards in this situation, Craig.
Well, they do make my heart sing, but they're not a wild thing at the moment. They're doing what they can as Dennis Branch now trying to see if he can catch the nearest out, because, yeah, after this pit stop, not doing really well with these guys at the back. I'm trying to look at Jacob Reed right now, and yes, he's 13 seconds ahead of Van Rensburg, but Van Rensburg, Byrne, Apariari all pitted early. So you look at Hagelin, he's 18 seconds ahead of Hagelin. Well, pit stop here, normally cone to cone is about 22 seconds. He's definitely going to be losing that. I'm going to say this, he's going to be, when he comes into the pits, unless he gets the pit stop of pit stops, he's going to be side by side with Eduardo Radice down in P10, I wonder. This man right here.
Yeah, and that guy is now catching Dennis Branch, and that would be for 9th. So Eduardo is on the move, and he's got to start making places quickly. Don't think it was a front wing that put Leopold Steneros back. I think it was just slow transit by the looks of things that has made the difference out there. And so for Eduardo, the likes of Leopold Steneros, he's going to have to really try and fight back. But I don't think I have seen a race here in the iRacing Grand Prix World Tour as interesting as this one, from qualifying all the way to where we are at nearing halfway in the race. There is 1,000 different ways that this one can still go. And I think it is leaving a lot of drivers on the edge of their seat because they don't know where to look.
Now, you remember when Fernando Alonso got a pole position here at Barcelona? As we see Hagelin going side by side. Let's forget about that talk for a moment. Hagelin gets past Apariari. I was thinking about this yesterday. Well, remember when Alonso got his last pole position here at Barcelona? Nobody knew who was pole position because all the timing towers broke up. That's what qualifying felt like to me. It felt like whose pole position? What? And that's what it's been feeling like out here today. And that's why the race has provided a lot of different strategies. You've got Walter Lux right now trying to make some moves on Apariari. That's almost a net. Well, I want to say that's a net P2 now for Walter Lux. Radice going up the order right now, having to take a wing change early, and it's not cost him. You think he's now back on the same schedule everybody else is after a wing change, Jake, and he's 10th. That just goes to show the pace. He's the first man in the 15s as well. This has been a race where anybody right now could win just because of the chaos at the start of the race.
And this is why this guy is the reigning champion and the championship leader here. He just does not know when to stop, and he can fight his way back in any scenario. It took a heads-up strategy decision to jump in early, switch to a 3-stop, get himself out the traffic and be aggressive, and it has certainly paid off early here in this race. He's made 2 stops to everybody else's 1, and to some drivers 0 out there, and I think he realizes he wants pace, and he's got pace, and he's looking to try and burn it as quickly as he can around this place. He will be looking around, I would argue here, the money lap to the end of the race for a soft tyre for those on a 3 or a 2 stop here, Craig, is lap 44. When you pit around there, that's your green light to go all out attacking on that tyre to bring it home.
Now, Jacob, 44, he's got to do another 15 laps on those tyres. Can't see it. Jacob will be coming in pretty shortly, I wonder, as we could have to see as well. Williams into the pits as well, right behind them as well. And I saw Hagaru there, having a bit of a mistake there, but Stellaris can't make the moves, and now they're just starting to struggle now. I think some of these drivers just overcooking those tyres a little bit could be interesting, because right behind, you've got Radice in the right there hunting down. I'm going gotta be brutally honest, Radice looks like he's in the South African colours, and he's not South African, so I do like that, I must say. But very interesting. Back in the day, I think that would be the car colours you would have back in the old 50s and 60s when it came to driving out there in F1.
Well, I'm looking at the laps here. Alex Haglund, well, everybody who has come in and pitted here right now, Craig, is on a 1:16.3. They are in that wheelhouse. The fastest driver was Steneros, a 16.2 on that last go around. So you turn around and say they're in the 1:16s right now. Drivers like Edward Apariari in the 18s with Jacob Reed, and Van Rensburg and James Byrne, they're in the high 17s. So you're getting the real sense of this is where they're having to pay it back. There goes Sander Haugerud jumping through. Here goes a lunge for Leopold Steneros. He's not going to get it at the first part here of this three-part harmony. But now they're going to be almost three wide as they work through. Branch has left the door open for Eduardo Radice to sidle his way on through. Still Apariari fights here with Leopold Steneros. Steneros to the inside here at turn 4. Radice almost getting to the rear tyre of EOA and not quite getting there. It's now going to have to go the long way around here at turn number 5, and that understeer is not going to help. But how's the drive off the exit? Non-existent for Apariari, and now this could be around the outside of TV3. Lovely.
That's what you want to see, and that just goes to show Pariari's tyres are dead. I saw him a couple last lap. He was trying to get on the throttle and the car was jolting. He had no grip in those tyres. They've fallen off a cliff. Remember, he pitted lap 14 on those softs. So what? He's 15 laps into a set here, and it's just not working for him. But they're not dull. When you look at the dullness scale of these tyres, they're not that dull, but he is struggling out there as he continues to look at drivers that aren't really struggling right here. Alex Haglund going to try and get past James Byrne right now. Remember, Byrne pitted early, lap 9. He's been able to manage these tyres a little bit. You talked earlier, Jake, about him having to baby these tyres around. Well, Alex Haglund couldn't make the run on these, well, 15-lap younger softs as Byrne continues, and Van Rensburg as well. He pitted lap 11. So these guys at the front, I think we've got a bit of a train here. One man that benefits from this train, Mr. Reed, now 11 seconds up in the lead.
Yeah, and Haglund's looking around. There is, as you'd like to call it, Craig, a dull front left tyre right now for James Byrne. He has been really attacking. He's been stuck behind out there in as far as this one goes. So I think you'd look around at this and say, right, James Byrne is really struggling on his tyres. And Haglund and Lux are turning around, looking at each other going, well, we might be fighting this for the net race lead here. So we've got to really go out there and show what we're all about, give it the what for and how we need to do it. You've also got in the pits now Adam Williams here, who looks like he's run himself into troubles out there, and he is retiring the car from the race after he had a spin through the second to last corner and almost Austin powered himself in the pit entrance. So Adam Williams, after what was a brilliant debut at Montreal, doesn't quite have a great sophomore race. Here goes Alex Haglund to the inside. James Byrne's not going to let this one go easily, though. He's going to force him to work for it here into turn 3. Now, can he get this one on the inside? No. He gets caught in the dirty vortexes and looks, goes to the outside, trying to find his pass. Can he work the magic on the outside parabola? And yes, is the answer. Oh, that's a lovely pass again we're seeing out there. Brilliant stuff from Lux.
And that's all confident. Second time Haglund had a chance to really force that through turn 1 and turn 2 on James Byrne, but he couldn't. And then Lux decides, I can. And just that confidence with the tyres. Remember, they're the same, basically same age as what Haglund's got. So he's able to just lean on that grip a little bit and just trust the car, trust the downforce. He made that decision. Fantastic. If we're looking at the net right now, that would probably put Lux net lead of the race. I can't say that's where it's going to be for the rest of it, but that's a fantastic move. And now with Burns, he's struggled at the exit here, has Lux, trying to get onto the DRS, but I think he's close enough now to make this move.
And this train gets bigger. You got Halgaru on the back now. Eduardo Radice is soon going to be there. Here goes the defensive pack to the inside. Looks trying to go the long way around. Oh, again, he makes a lovely move of it and puts himself up to third. Now it will be George van Rensburg, who he's looking to try and chase down next on lap 33 of 65. They've still got 33 laps remaining here as we hit the halfway stage of this race. And we know this is a far from done deal as Hagland chucks it up the inside and James Byrne has nothing for it on the outside. Tries to cut him back up and under, has no angle.
Interesting. Couldn't get the move done into turn 1 and turn 2. Was able to get the move done, though, down there at turn 7. Very weird there from Hagland, but he's got by. And now I wonder if that is the cork in the champagne bottle moment again, because now Haggerud really starting to attack and push on. Eduardo Radice also behind them right now, seeing what he can do. And he knows now that operation is to get past Byrne as fast as you can. And it's going to have to be another lap, maybe, and half a lap, because I think Haggerud will definitely get it this time. But Byrne is not going to let this go without a fight. Walter Lux doesn't need to fight right here. Side by side, straight in. DRS says, thank you very much. Van Rensburg goes down to P3. Lux up to P2. And now we see a soft driver, fresh soft driver, trying to catch up to Jacob Reed.
Well, it is a case of the data scientist Jacob Reed against the mechanical engineer of Volta Lux. Eduardo Radice continues to try and claw himself closer and closer, trying to drag himself up by his fingernails like a rock climber to go and get by. Up here in the mountains above Barcelona, about 80 kilometers away from the city centre here in Montemelo, over to this left-right of 7 and 8, and now up over the top of Campsa corner here. This is the most committed corner on this circuit, and this is where you need the run with this secondary DRS zone that's open and active, and ultimately no one close enough to get a move on anybody else, so they set themselves up for this very natural climb here, Craig, to the end of the lap.
One of my favourite parts of a track on the F1 schedule, just when you go up the hill at Bonk Sabadell and down now through Europe Car and in to New Holland. Just a lovely flowing set of corners that thankfully that chicane's gone. Don't need to worry about it. Here we go. Haggerud's going to get by, and the DRS is so strong that Radice is going to say, I'm going to get by as well. So that Byrne going down 2 places on the straight, and with that delta, I think we're looking at 22 laps, 23, maybe up to 25 at most. I think those tyres for James have finally given up the ghost. Well, at 35, he might be the first one to come into the pits again after those first stoppers.
25 laps, and he's 30 laps away from the end of this race, so I think he realises he's got to go at least another 2 or 3 if he has any hope of making a 2-stop work. But just look at how much time he's...
I think that's a really good thing, because last lap, the lap before was 2 seconds difference between Lux and Reed. It's only a second and a half this time. Can Byrne do anything? Well, if he's seen that Van Rensburg on 2 lap younger softs have come into the pits, maybe he realizes now he has to look at coming into the pits. We see more overtake. Raquel losing out to Florian Kamaya there with those softs, and we're starting to see some of these drivers start to really find that wall, that proverbial wall that the car had, that the tires have out there. One man that doesn't need to worry about a wall, he's going to try and smash it like he smashed it all last season. Haggerud, good luck. You got the champion right behind you. Radice is now up 14 places, highest he's been for all of the race, and he looks pretty comfortable out there.
At the moment, I guess there's a case of yellow car syndrome, let alone yellow helmet, the way he's going about it. But that's a mistake from Eduardo Radice. Chucks in a little bit too deep there and has to try and gather it back up again, up through Bank Sabadell. Here, this long, sweeping right-hander. You've got these next 2 rights, which really do test your bravery through these corners. You've got to pin the foot flat to the floor, hope that the car has the downforce that keeps it through. But now here's the issue for Sander Haggerud. He's got nobody in front of him to save him. In comes James Byrne to make what could be his last stop of the race, but through goes Eduardo Radice. He's now 4th.
He's now 4th, and I wonder where he is actually net on the track, because remember, he's on a 2-stopper. Well, he's done 2 stops, sorry. He's on a 3-stopper, so this is going to be interesting, as Haggerud will have to try and see what he can do to catch up to Radice. And The Deg's looking pretty identical for those two. Talk about Deg. Jacob Reed, he's only 1 second slower than when he started on these mediums. He's been driving these mediums for 37 laps. And this Deg really is. We talk about it, how he likes to whisper at the tires and doing a real good job with it. And I don't know if this is just the case of this whole season, Jake, but have you noticed how Reed has been doing the opposite to people? And I don't mean at Montreal, I just mean different completely. Last week at Long Beach was the first time he went with the same grain that everybody else was. But for the rest of the season, he's been doing things differently, and it's been interesting to see.
I think it really has done, and I think he's found a way to unlock this car in a way that everybody else hasn't, and it goes to a testament of his style of driving. He will make everybody else think that they think they've got the form on tap, and he turns around and goes, no, you haven't solved this equation properly yet. And that, I think, is so magical about the way he goes about it. And you turn around and say, well, what does he need to do? He needs to find wins. And he is looking at this in a way where I think after the first 5 rounds of the season, Eduardo Rodis just said, look, you're going to have to step your game up. And Jacob Reed took that as a challenge, went, well, I'm going to try and do something different. And so all of a sudden, it's working for him. And it's really making everybody's life a headache because they don't know how they're going to be beaten by him.
And I think that's the problem right now is no one knows exactly what Jacob Reed is going to do until Jacob Reed turns up on a Friday night and decides that, well, it's time to play the game. And he's really doing a great job out there. Yes. Okay, you look at the time since Lutz got into P2, Reed's lost about almost 10 seconds. Okay, fine. But Reed doesn't care. And that is a mentality you have to learn. A lot of drivers will see that number drop and start to panic. Reed's not looking at that number. The only number he's looking at is the laps. He's happy enough right now. And if you're an inexperienced driver, not knowing how the tire deg plays factor in this series, you'd start to panic if you were in his spot because you'd be seeing Lux catching. He doesn't really care.
Lyle Pina under pressure here. This is Edward Apariari and James Byrne for 11th, 12th and 13th. They'll charge along the main straight now and look to try and make this move. And so here comes the pass then. EO8 to the inside, and now James Byrne will follow in tow. 1 and 2, just like that, into turn number 1. Not much you can do about it. And just to finish up my point on Jacob Reed, this is where I point out that 12 months ago at this circuit, Craig, he crashed out on lap 1 of the race of his own accord, his own mistake. Look at what difference 12 months makes.
I think as well, you look at that as well, and I think that was probably the defining moment of last season. I think that was where Rodis realized that, hello, there's kinks in his armor. Let's go for it. And I think Reed's been trying to find that armor at the start of this season, and he was just trying to almost just play with the balloons instead of just going back to the normal ropes and lariating people. But he's got it back. He's got his music back. The flip of the coin. James Byrne is going to flip it around, and he's got the fresher tires on that as well as Rodis is going to go up the order as well. We weren't expecting this after the start of the race, but another great strategy call there from another top driver. And it's the complete opposite to everybody else. Rodis on a free stopper, and it's working.
It is, because look at this. You've got the 1 stop, the 2 stop, and the 3 stop split by 4 seconds with 26 laps to go. And they'll all have 1 more stop to make here in this race, and they'll all pit at around the same time. And from all of that variance and difference, Craig, it's going to turn into a flat-out sprint.
Oh, I love that. Don't we love that? All this strategy, and it's just going to turn out to be a 15, 20 lap sprint. Let's do it. That's what we want to see. And in fact, you look at it as well. Because of this strategy call, Reed is only 5 seconds faster up the road to P6, and this is P6 right now. It's Stenerus just trying to catch up to the back of Hagerud. You could almost say that they're in an elongated train, but it's a very long train. But definitely, here he comes, though.
Leader in. Jacob Reed, his tyres on both the left-hand sides. Look at how dull they are out there. He has had to go, and he's immediately followed by Eduardo Rodis and by Leopold Steneros. They want no delta difference between them. This is the race.
This is the race, and I think that's what Radice was looking for. He realized that, yeah, you're coming in, I'm going to follow you as well. So that means Reed will have to navigate these soft tires, and he's got Radice right behind him. And, well, Eduardo's about 2 seconds behind him now. Great, and where's he come out in? Look at where he's come out, Jake. Look at it. 4 seconds ahead of up the road is Raquel. He's found the gap in the traffic. What a move that is from Reed. I wonder if that's what caused him to come in early.
Yeah, found a little space then to say, look, I can come in and make that stop, and that's critical. And actually, part of that will be part of iRacing's new updates, Craig. And if you want to, you've got a lovely new mini-map that's available.
Oh, you've got a lovely new mini-map for everyone to do it. I'm not using it right now. Turn numbers, everyone looking at it right now where you want to see. It's a perfect tool for the track, and some drivers will be using that mainly for multi-class racing. But for this sort of series, that's brilliant. You don't know where the gap's going to be in terms of where you come out onto the pit, but you can start to do the maths in your head because you're probably looking at, where is that car? I know I'm going to be 22, 23 seconds in the pits. Right, let's try and work out where that is. Okay, fine. There's the gap. I think he's been doing that because, well, that's the type of man Jacob Reed is. And I tell you what, that puts Volta Lux in check.
Well, for Volta Lux, he knows he's got to give himself an overspeed. He's got to give himself tyre life advantage, and not just a lap. He's got to give himself 2, 3, 5 laps so he can go and be extra aggressive at the end of his stint, hunt down the gap that's there. Now I want to know, as Halgaru fights with Alex Hagland, that Eduardo Radice is on the back of Jacob Reed. And these two, with 3 championships between them, these two titans of this series, with 45 race wins between them, now go at it together on track to arguably be driver in net position for P1.
Watch this for Radice. There goes the line there for the DRS detection. You'll see the green light there on the side. That means he's got DRS. You see them all up there? Now he's got the DRS enabled. The wing is open, and he's going to look for this. Doesn't go for it. He realizes, and that's the pedigree these two have. Volta Lux is in. Lux is in. We said that was going to be it. I said he got put into check. Lux is into the pits there. Hagaru will stay out. But where is Lux going to go in terms of these drivers? They're coming around the final corner. This might be where Radice might not be able to make the overtake because there's going to be a man coming out the pit lane. It's Volta Lux. Can he hold on to this lead?
Cleared him.
He's cleared him.
Look at that, just like that. Lux is out the pits. He'll be back there with James Byrne and George van Rensburg. It's Eduardo Radice who is through and has got the pass on Jacob Reed. And now he's just got to fade the 5 that are there in front. Rekov, Kamaya, Branch, Halgaru, Hagland. That's all that's left for Eduardo Radice on what is an inspired drive. James Byrne still close here to George van Rensburg, but critically, these two will have to baby the tyres the most between now and the end of this race. This is scintillating in terms of the form book and where it goes. And I still don't know where it's all going to end out the long and short of it, because there are still battles to be had. And for the moment, it's Sebastian Rekov who's going to be looking around at Eduardo Radice, who's going to look to the inside and realise, yep, don't have anything here.
And who does that help? It helps Radice because Reed is now going to get a lot of dirty air of a car that is really struggling on tyres that should be coming into the pit. Hagarood comes into the pit. That's one more to cross off. Reed's losing a lot of time here. Raquel comes into the pit, so Reed will now get some clear air. Crucially, he also gets to DRS, so he'll just get a little bit of help there. Radice gets nothing, as he's not close enough. So that's going to help Reed in the long term. But look who just went purple. 115.4 for Radice.
Volta Lux has had himself a big old half slide as he came through turn 13. He's scared off the road. Leopold Steneros for troubles as well. So ultimately for Volta Lux, he's had a massive moment out there, and that's going to cost him his race. Replay here through turn 12. Bang! Back steps out. How on earth he keeps that out of the barriers, I have no idea. And then scares Steneros there through New Holland.
I wonder if that was a little combination of the tyres still warming up as well with that dirty air. As a surprise there as Aaron Full goes purple in the back of the field. But just remember that the fuel's going to start dropping off. So expect to see one of these two definitely getting those positions. Where next for Radice? Well, Kamai right in front, and he's also seen the drivers around him come into the pits. I think he'll be coming into the pits very shortly. There is Florian. He's nursing these tyres. And no, he doesn't. He doesn't. Who does that help? Help for Reed. Reed, I wonder if Reed just got the DRS as well. Reed did not get the DRS. He was in a second, but it was a second too late. Reed get past Kamai using DRS. That's the key battle there. I never thought about looking at traffic like this, but that's what this race has turned into.
It very much has done. Dennis Branch in and making his stop, which leaves just Alex Hagland then to make his stop at 12 seconds down the road from Eduardo Radice here. Florian Kamai right now is the most important bridge here to try and get by. And Jacob Reed, I think if he wants to make this move, he's going to be looking at turn 10, and it has to be turn 10. Dennis Branch has got a penalty out there, and that is massive for him, and I would argue that his penalty will be on pit exit. He crossed the white line as he exited the lane.
That's heartbreak there. All the talk about the new pit lane entries and the pit lane speeds, and, well, we forget about the most important thing, keeping it inside the white lines as Reed goes up into a position, and I wonder if Radice is going to get Jeffrey Lawler. Here's the replay for Dennis. There's the white line. He's going to cross over too early, isn't he? There he is, yeah. Just the smallest of margins there, but that's the wheel over the white line. That's a slap on the wrist. He'll have to go into the pit. So has Alex Hagland there from the lead. Finally in. Radice up to lead.
From 19th on the grid, after a plethora of troubles for many of these drivers in this field, to now be at the race lead and looking to break away, staggering. Apariari, no pace, sees through both Steneros and Lux, and now the gatekeeper to the final points paying position here with Sebastian Rekov, 13 seconds behind. Look at Volta, he's all over the show, trying to find himself that pass, lunges back for the inside, but Steneros has better traction on the outside track of that next right-hander, down to the next left. Aaron Full going beast mode right now with fastest laps.
I don't think you'll be able to catch up to get that final point, but you just never know. Lux, by the way, did allow Steneros a bye. He decided that he didn't like what happened there, caused him to go off, lose a position, said, let's just get your position back, let's fight for this normally, and that's what he's doing. Can he slow this car down, uses the curve to his advantage, looks up to P8, Steneros now in P9. For Pariari's trying to catch up, trying to keep up with him, by the way, in the background, but it's just not happening. Byrne goes into P3 because Kamaya has come into the pits. So now everybody, in theory, should be taking these tyres to the end. I don't think a Pariari will, but now everyone are on their end, and what a race we've got here. Jacob Reed on a one-stopper versus Radice on a three-stopper.
And critically, Jacob Reed on that last lap was able to find a couple tenths of a second. He keeps the gap around 1.2, 1.3 seconds here. They had to get by Jeffrey Lawler. Steneros currently in this 8th spot, trying to stay with Lux, who's trying to get to Alex Hagland, and there's hardly anything between it right now. And when you look at a race like this and you average it out, Craig, and you say, oh, the gap's 10, 15, 20 seconds, in reality, that's about a tenth of a second a lap that you see. To see all these drivers in so close, we've got your top 10 right now, split by 15 seconds out there on circuit. Legendary stuff from everyone.
Again, 5,600 strength of field, one of the highest strength of fields we've seen in the GP Tour. And you look at it last week, about similar lap times at Long Beach. Different type of track, different type of tire deck, and you've only got three drivers, on the lead lap. Where here, you basically got the top 5 within 7 seconds of one another. Haggerud now trying to just continue on, wants to see if he can just get in the DRS range of Van Rensburg. He hasn't, and there's names here that you haven't seen tried it in the high point standings this season that are finally just going, this is my bread and butter, this is what I want. And again, I go back to it, Jake, this is why F1 uses this track as the test bed, or used to, because it's just so simple. You know how to drive around here, you can drive anything.
George Van Rensburg looking for his first top 5 since Portimao last year. He'll be looking at James Byrne. He will want his first podium, but he'll have to hold off Sander Haugerud as well. If you want to know, when George Van Rensburg last even got up onto the podium, he's had 2 in his career. His last podium, Sandford last year. Before that, 2022 Indianapolis. That's how long ago it's been between podiums, and he's looking around for another one here at this point, but there's no guarantees with Alex Hagland waiting, as well as Lux, as well as Steneros trying to get back into it. But these drivers here, Byrne and Van Rensburg, this is just the hold-on game. All they can do is try and hold on for this podium and hope Sander Haugerud doesn't have the Midas touch to create gold, or in this case, bronze, to move up into third.
Yeah, but remember, every medal is made out of bronze in the Olympics, or silver, whichever one it is. Side by side, they'll go. Van Rensburg will go up into P3. They know what they're battling for, but they also know that if they overshoot these tyres, overheat these tyres, overwear these tyres, well, that's where Sander's going to catch up to. Pariari, by the way, finally into the pits. And what's interesting with Reed was the lap previous was green for him. Now he's matching Radice. Reed has really got some time here. Haggerud trying to almost just make a move that I don't think was on there. But you can see those tires are really now into core temperature. Same with Jacob Reed at the front. This is going to be very interesting. I think we know our top three. Radice, Reed, and Haggerud. We just don't know the order they're going to be in.
No, and I think that's going to be quite telling here to the end of this race as they now look to try and set themselves up. Car is going to be at its very lightest because they don't have the ability to change the fuel out or add more fuel in. You start with the capacity that you have, the 300 litres, and you've got to bring that all the way to the checkered flag. You can take litres out, you can't put them back in. And James Byrne here, stuck in Schrodinger's overtake, must attack and defend at the same time. Now needs that DRS flap to give him basically that counterbalance he needs on the straight, because George Van Rensburg going to be reeled in at a rate of knots here. And they've had three wide. Here goes the move. Sander Haugerud from a mile back tries it, and James Byrne just hangs him out and says, nah, not today.
Yeah, but look at the dirty tyres. Look at the worn tyres. He basically got pushed out on the apex there, washed out pretty hard. Sander was really looking for a move. I thought he was looking for a double there out of nowhere. I think that he was taking some inspiration from Van Rensburg from earlier on in the race, but probably a little bit too ambitious there. But he also knows how important it is right now, especially when you think Alex Hagland's only a second and a half behind. There he is, by the way, just coming out of TV3 there. As he comes by, this is important for Sander, and yeah, he's lost that pace right now. He's lost that gap. This is him, I think, just nursing the tires, charging the battery as well. We don't talk a lot about that, but I think the battery there, just set that battery up, see what he can do. I wonder if that's what Jacob Reed's doing right now, because he's matching Radice right now and also losing a bit of time. I wonder if there's some battery management going on with 15 to go.
They'll be definitely looking at how much do I have to get uber aggressive with it. And again, James Byrne finds himself now on that Byrne, that attack mode. They've only got 4 changes a lap that they're allowed to use, and they can go to harvest mode, which completely kills the energy of the battery on that full recharge. And then you can basically put it into a storage mode where you're using a little bit, but not a lot out there as they go. So for Sander Haugerud, now's the time to build the battery back up again and then have another go to go out there and attack. Radice now out to 2 seconds here at the front of this one, and I think this is an elastic band snapping here in this group, and a win like this, an extra 7 points, would turn a 19-point gap to a 26-point gap. And say for Eduardo Radice, he has 1 race margin out there at this point in time he'll be happy with. But Sander Haugerud, if he wants to give James Byrne a fight for third in the championship here, this is the sort of pass he has to make at this juncture of the season.
Yeah, and also when you think Van Rensburg will probably also get DRS in front, so all 3 of these cars battling will get DRS. In fact, let's throw in Alex Hagland right now. I wonder if Hagland's going to get... No, this has been important. Van Rensburg won't get a DRS. I'm keeping my eyes on Hagland as he comes over the cross line. Hagland right behind Haggerud will also get DRS. This is going to turn into a 4-car battle for the last spot in the podium. So this now is basically what you need. Sander has to look for this move. Look at it. Rensburg is a sitting duck. They almost went 3 wide. And I think Byrne has got a bit too aggressive to try and go around the outside there. But he holds it. And here comes Haggerud.
Yeah, perfect chance for Sander Haugerud, who sees it on the outside, gets the run, and now moves himself up one of the 2 places that he needs. Now he's got direct charge here against James Byrne next lap, and believe it or not, I think that move, if they wanted to keep Haugerud behind for long enough, that's the moment that this group breaks apart. Suddenly Alex Hagland's on the scene, and he's going to want through, and he's going to want through quicker than a whisper.
No, I'll have a 12 bar, please. Thank you very much. But I do wonder who is going to have a twirl. I think Hagland will have a twirl at this because he's not had to be aggressive. So he's been saving those tyres. He's not been in the dirty air, been saving those tyres. So I think when you look at Hagland versus Hagland, who's got the fresher set of tyres? Well, I think you have to look at the number 10 right now. You've got to look at the Swede. If he can make this move on Rensburg now, coming down the straight, start-finish straight, I think he's got it. But also pay attention to James Byrne and Hagerud as well at the front, because James doesn't have any DRS. But Sanders so far behind right now. No chance of making a move. All eyes on Alex Hagland.
So Alex Hagland, if he wants this pass, he's going to have to do it. But look how late he can chase it down the hill to go and get the pass. No looks from any side. Then through third into sixth. But behind is Volta Lux trying to recover back. Leopold Soneros there. Remember, Lux has already put a bit of heat through the tyres with his half spin. So he's trying to deal with that, mitigate the tyre temps and bring it down. And speaking of those drivers who are bringing it down at the moment, Jacob Reed starting to bring that gap back. Looks to the inside, covered by George van Rensburg. And suddenly they're all there. It's a 5-car scrap now. 6-car scrap for the final spot on the podium.
Oh, we wouldn't want it any better, wouldn't we? We know we got a battle for P1 and P2. We know P3's up for grabs here. We know P3's up for grabs with basically half the field. What a race we've had here. And who said Barcelona was boring? Who said you can't make moves at Barcelona? They're all trying their best out there. And I wonder if now, can any of these drivers make a move? The man who is the sitting duck right now is definitely James Byrne. He's out of position right now. Hagland might be able to make a move here on Van Rensburg because, yes, he's got DRS on Hagerud, but he's a bit too far behind to use any more of that. So eyes on the number 10 right now. You look for it at the very last moment. A lot of serpentine happening. Hagerud takes that P3. Now, what about Van Rensburg? Can he hold on here? No moves from Hagland.
So easy pass then for Sander Haugerud. It puts him up into third place and knows that 15 championship points are in his back pocket, and he starts denting all his rivals around. But for George van Rensburg, for Alex Hagland, he wants to get through. For Volta Lux, he needs to get through. Leopold Soneros wants in on this scrap as well. Down the hill into turn 5. They now try and work here out of the Seat corner and up over towards TV3. This left-right flick that goes through. You try and put the power down. There's a massive anti-cut curve there on the inside. Makes all the difference. You work up through Kampsa towards Lekaixa at turn 10. DRS flaps open again, but by no means a straight where you can make the move easily at this point. I think this is all about aggro mode. Who wants to go aggro? Who wants to place their car in a position where they can go aggro? And the worst thing is, Sander Haugerud increases the pace of this group. And so the chance for overtakes slims until some link in the chain decides it wants to break.
Well, something's got to break, and I wonder if there's going to be something. Can Soneros make any moves out there? And he can't. No one makes the moves right now, and this is just tyre management. Remember, Byrne, Rensburg on 10-lap older tyres. The oldest tyre, the youngest tyres out there, belongs to Hagland. The oldest, apart from those two, belongs to Stenerus, who isn't battling right now. Volta Lux has got a decent pair of tyres as well as he comes on. I keep looking as well at the leaders. 2 seconds with 11 to go, and Jacob Reed is actually, with no DRS, faster last time down the main straight. So I think there's a little bit of issues out there. I think those drivers are on different energy plans out there in terms of modes. These drivers, they're all having to stick to the same thing, because look at them. Where do you look for a move? They are all just bunched up here, and well, they say they're bunched up, Jake. They're starting to pull apart here.
Oh, that's wide. That's wide from Sander Haugerud, and James Byrne now has to go around the outside of Bank Sabadell to go and get this done. A mistake from the Norwegian. He will gather it up, but now he's going to be absolutely vulnerable along this main straight. James Byrne is right there, and so too will be George van Rensburg, who will get the double toe along this straight. try and get it done. Haugerud over to the right. Left will go James Byrne. Now here comes George van Rensburg. All that hard work gone. And George of the jungle going for third. Down the inside, can't get there. Haugerud now will strike straight back. Sometimes it doesn't pay off to be aggressive. Look at this. Now here comes Alex Hagland and Volta Lux. They are now getting on the freight train and saying, here goes another one. Here potentially goes another two. Lux trying to get the power down here off of Repsol corner. He'll get himself to the inside. This is magical sim racing.
This is sim racing. The cars aren't real. The racing's real, though. And that's what you want to see. They're going side by side through TV3. And finally, Lutz gets that move on Van Rensburg. Van Rensburg, don't look at it through caps. Not a lot you can do. And I wonder if he actually picked up the DRS. Yes, he got the DRS on Lutz. That's going to help him. But they're losing time to the rest. In fact, Stenerus realizes it. They know that, yes, we could be aggressive here. But that one mistake at the start there for Haggerud has just cost everybody a lot of time here. And they are struggling out there. I also keep looking at the times. Reed's got nothing for Radice. They're just nursing it home. These drivers aren't nursing anything. Someone's going to come out with free wheels on their wagon if they're not careful.
Well, this is a case of a knife fight in a phone booth, and it's Sander Haugerud who lifts off of it along the straight. This will allow Alex Hagland to close on up, who's in fifth, and Hagland would love a podium right now. This would be all up in his business. Alex Hagland, his last podium was Imola, where he got a third place this season, and so he is knocking on the door of some pretty respectable big results. He's just got to get them more consistently to be a championship threat. Now in towards turn 5 once again, inside the final 10 laps. He's not close enough yet to Sander Haugerud to start uncorking a move and striking with that poise and that prowess that is there. You've got everybody in line just trying to set themselves up. And the more they go like this, look at that gap suddenly for James Byrne, 9/10.
Well, who would have thought James Byrne would be the man in P3 about 5 laps ago? Those tyres should be falling off right now, and, well, we can't really look at what the times are right now to compare to Deg. He did a 16.8 last time. Did I see a slide there from Haggerud on the throttle? I did. Still in that DRS range there for Byrne, so he will be able to just catch up a little bit. Be interesting to see what the times are this time. How's the Deg? Byrne into 17. Haggerud 17.1. Byrne has to go on the defense here, and there shouldn't be a move here from Sander around the outside, but everybody bunched up again. All of them in the 17th, apart from Lutz and Van Rensburg and Stenerus, who are all in the 16th. So very interesting. The front of this pack are starting to struggle, and tell you who's struggling, that lead gap between Radice and Reed, 3 seconds.
Yeah, it looks like that is going to be a concession here for Jacob Reed, and he's going to just try and say, I'll take the points and I'll take them to the Red Bull Ring. Alex Hagland pushing really hard here, and Volta Lux, I think, looks the punchiest of everybody in this group. He's the danger man that everyone's going to have to try and keep behind, and they work up over the top of the crest into Kamsa once more. And I think this is about who and what and where you make those moves. It's what move do you want to take, and where do you want to take it, and who do you want to put it on, because you don't have the guarantees that it's all going to line up neatly in a passing group like this one. This is so tough, and if anyone gets it wrong, it's big points hauls that start being dropped.
Yeah, I don't think Walter is the danger man. I think he's Danger Mouse. He snuck up here like a mouse through the field to get to where he is. He's up 6 places, which if you take away the top 2, he's the hardest charger. More moves happening. Haggerud finally makes that move around the outside of turn 1, and Byrne had to concede. And you've got no DRS, so you don't have that speed. You just have to accept it. And out of nowhere, Lux is trying to battle as well with Hagland. So he really is trying to put the force on right now. And you've got to feel, with 7 to go, they don't care what the tyre life is right now. They're just pushing this all the way to the end. And Lux, I tell you what makes Lux really look dangerous right now. Look at the speed he's carrying into corners. He's being softer on the brakes. He's really working the speed into the apex. I love what he's doing right now, but it could all end up in a little bit of tears.
And Leopold Stenerus knows this here in 8th, trying to get to 7th. How many times has George van Rensburg this season been Mr. 7th place? He's finished there on 3 occasions this season. Did so at Mugello, at the Nürburgring, and at Long Beach last time out. Would be the 4th time he finishes 7th if he is to this season, if he stays where he is right now. Looks here in 6th, needs to find a way to get by Alex Hagland. That's the first most important part of what he needs. Gap all of a sudden out for the lead now, over to 4.3, but here comes James Byrne straight back along the main straight, gets to the inside, really pinches himself off there through that early stage and taking a direct line that nobody else is taking when they're trying to make the moves. Maybe a bit of help from his own dad, his spotter, Jamie Byrne, helping him out. No other moves offered then into Repsol.
I think they're just waiting for their moment. This feels like a game of chess right now. And I know Walter Lux, I joked that he was put into check earlier. Well, he's also spun around, and that's what put him into this position. This could be a little case of let's wait a couple more laps before we look for the moves. If you want to start switching up the front, if you want to do that, James and Sander, do it. We're just going to hold on to this right now. They know that this is the opportunity awaiting. And the later you make the move, the less time the opposition have to really try and counteract it. So maybe we'll just see them all bunch up once again down into turn 1. Maybe going down into turn 10, they'll all bunch up again. But the key thing is, can James, and in all due fairness, compared to when Hagerud is in the lead of this pack, James is able to hold a real good gap here to the others.
And I'd also just like to note at this phase, as now here comes the look from Leopold Steneros straight by. Here as now Sander Haugerud will also go through. So one pass for Steneros, one for Haugerud, one Sweden, one Norwegian. Getting passes done. It is also on now for the final points playing position. Dennis Branch has caught the back of Sebastian Rekov too. Byrne has got to really fight back with 5 to go, but everywhere you look, there's something for it. And let's look for this 10th place, because here comes Dennis Branch at a rate of knots to the inside, and he steals the lunch money of Sebastian Rekov.
It's like candy from a baby all of a sudden there. He gets that done as we get back to this. As I'm looking at the tyres, Jake, I'm starting to see a little bit of delamination. I'm starting to see a dull tyre on the front left of James Byrne. This is how much he's been pushing that car. There is a lot of stress on those tyres, and I'm surprised he's able to keep fighting on this, because this is a very front left heavy track here with all the corners, with all the elevation changes, and somehow with that worn tyre, he's having to nurse this now as he's still battling with Sander Hagerud. And I bet you he'll come around here with DRS and he'll retake P3.
I think he will, and I think he's timing this one actually really nicely here with 4 laps to go. He wants to be there at 1 lap to go and getting that mark, and he does so, gets the pass, and it's also tempering everybody else. Alex Hagland can't get in. You can't get in if your Volta looks. You are stuck. You are stymied by these two battling. Volta looks. He can look left, right, up, down, sideways, slantways. Use everywhere the Great Glass Elevator to leapfrog the places. Doesn't matter, not going to work, can't find a way. Now here comes the chance then as Edward Pariari through now on Sebastian Rekov too. Alex Hagland is stuck and he needs a way by Sander Haugerud and pronto.
Yeah, and Sander Haugerud should have like the better soft tyres here. All right, 2 laps younger is Hagland's tyres, but this is the man that he's struggling to get the throttle down right now as Hagerud. And when you think about it, he's getting gapped right now by James Byrne, who I just talked about has got really bad front left tyres, and these tyres are way fresher. And look at the train that is just getting forward right now. Sander can't do anything on throttle, and that's holding all these drivers up. And at some point, when you've got 3, it's going to be 3 to go when they cross the line. One of these guys at the back of this train is going to start thinking, hang on, can we get a move on here? We need to get a move on.
Yeah, all aboard. Sander Haugerud to the inside. He's going to snipe that back for 3rd, but does he go too deep here? Here comes the crossback, and a second crossback now for James Byrne. Not there, not enough tyre life to go and get himself through the corner. And suddenly then coming out of 3 and into Repsol at 4. Lux and Hagland and Steneros and Van Rensburg continue to watch, continue to wait, and continue to realise that this race is very much a case of, well, we need to do something, and we are just stuck on the Haugerud and Byrne Express.
Well, I hope they got their tickets for it, because in a minute they might get thrown off the train. They've only got a bit of time left until they come to the final stop, and that final stop is Victory Lane, and they won't be near that right now. They want to get onto the podium. I just don't see them making it. And again, looks better on the brakes, carrying more speed, but he then has to just check up a little bit as Hagelin gets held up. But this is the closest Hagelin's been. Watch this there. Last 2 corners. Let's see the dirty air. Let's see the aero wash that they'll get here. Lux has struggled right away. Hagelin, this is the best Hagelin's ever been on the back of James Byrne. I wonder if that tyre is starting to fall off there for Byrne, because Hagelin, closer than he's ever been, but where's he making the move?
Well, he's got to get at least one clear, and that's the critical fact. He's not close enough. He runs out of straight here as they now throw 2 laps to go up in the air. James Byrne trying to time this, and I think he's going to need some help here from behind. That's what he's going to have to bank on here, or he's got to lose the move now over to Bank Sabadell and start playing chicken here. You're going to have to start thinking mind games, Craig.
Yeah, and this is basically what you do. If you do a slipstream series, if you do a series with a lot of drafts, this is the moves this is the positions, the mind games you have to do. You have to tell them, look, I don't want the lead. You can have the lead. I don't want to take the lead into the final lap. Take it. This is what Byrne might need here. He might need to hope that Hagerud can't make the move. But remember, this DRS is so powerful, you make the overtake on the first corner. Van Rensburg's had a moment as well at the back there. Not the day for Van Rensburg. He's got no wheels. He's out the race.
And as happened through turn 4 into 5, Hagland and Lux side by side as the final lap start. All the fireworks coming into play. Suddenly, this will now promote Edward Apariari up into 10th. Alex Hagland, having to defend, is now taking the podium chance away. But now Leopold Staneros might want in on this final attempt too. Lux with a good run. So too does Sander Haugerud. He's got to go to the outside. 3 wide as well. Behind, Haugerud goes through into 3rd. James Byrne trying to fight back. Contact. Alex Hagland is deposited into the gravel. Drama of the highest caliber. This late on, Byrne's not done, goes to the outside here of turn 4, trying to get it done on a tightrope. Oh, that's sensational, absolutely sensational. Hagland hits the instant point limit, and look, contact, he finds himself now falling back. Dramatic, and he hits the instant limit, and he's going to get a 35 to 40 second penalty at the end of this race. Crazy stuff at the end of this run, but one guy has been calmer than anybody else. He's running through turn 13 right now, and for him, an Italian with a world title to his name, his greatest ever win in the World Tour, 19th to 1st, Eduardo Radiz, absolutely exemplary.
Brilliant move from there. Hagerud as well made a mistake at turn 10, and it's going to be James Byrne who has Jacob Reed with 2nd. What a one-stop there for him. Byrne will come home in P3 with a great race. Lux retired the car as well. Stenerus is going to go up the order here because Hagland can't serve this black flag. Hagland's going to come across the line in P5. This is going to move everything up. Hagerud takes 4th. Hagland will come home in 5th. Lux decided to retire the car. Branch has gone off at the end as well. He had a podium spot coming, and he's going to beach himself.
Oh no, he's going to now need to find reverse and try and get the power back that way. If he's beached on the curb, that's it. He's not going to see the end of it there. What a sad end to the day for Dennis Branch, doing himself his best Ryan van der Grijp impersonation. Aaron Full is going to take points and the fastest lap as he crosses the line, and Lyle Pinar, if he's lucky here, might steal a point here across the line. What a desperate and sad end to the race here for Dennis Branch. Pinar in 11th, but we wait for it to all stack with everyone across the line. And Max Barnes basically saying, look, what a horrible day at the office I've had. Chucks it in the wall and says that's not what I need. Race officially is going to be classified as over, and Alex Hagland is going to hold on here by 4 seconds to a top 10 as far as it goes. We'll get confirmation of result here on screen now. Eduardo Radiz, an hour 24 and 47 seconds from 19th on the grid with a front wing change, wins by 5.1 seconds in one of the greatest Grand Prix World Tour races I think we've ever seen. Jacob Reed ends up 2nd, and James Byrne is then in 3rd. Your top 3 in the championship, proving it out there at this point. Sander Haugerud ends up in 4th with Leopold Staneros 5th, ahead of Florian Kamar and Edward Apariari. Sebastian Rekov will take back-to-back weeks of points. He's 8th with Aaron Full taking his first ever points in the Grand Prix Tour in 9th. Alex Hagland, with the penalty on the last lap, drops to 10th.
What a race. What a race. Well, Lyle Pino was unlucky not to get that P10 with Hagland's penalty. He'll finish in 11th, and Max Barnes comes home in 12th. Dennis Branch, despite not finishing that lap, officially a lap down in 13th where he started. That's so unfortunately. Apparently a monitor crashed for him as well. Walter Lutz as well retired the car early after getting that black flag. He'll be in 14th. Ballas Gallio will be in 15th. Jeffrey Lawler will be 16th with apparently the wrong setup. That's why we saw him with a different wing. George Van Rensburg had that crash as well. He was out 2 laps earlier in 17th. That was a game crash. Ali Goshman will come home in 18th. Adam Williams, early retiree in 19th. Kelt Nielsen retired earlier as well in 20th. And Gerald Borrell, well, he had no fuel as he had the wrong setup. He'll finish in 21st.
A shame for Gerard on home soil, proving it's not going to give him everything he needs out there on a crazy day at the office. But when you put it all together with all of the efforts, it's business as usual, Craig. And that business as usual is Eduardo Rodis has had himself, or he's basically righted the slump that he had. And it feels very disingenuous when you've had a third and a second to call it a slump when he's not won in 3 races. He rights that wrong and says, look, career win on the table. Again, his 5th race win of the season. Career win over the course of his career, number 17. And this one, I think, will go down as one of his greatest ever wins.
I think this is going to go down as one of the greatest GP Tour races ever. I mean, Jacob Reed on a 1-stopper was 5 seconds slower than Rodis on a 3-stopper, who had to take a 3-stopper because he had to get a wing change earlier. And I called it, when he went for that second pit stop, as a genius stroke. Now remember, him and Reed pitted the same lap at the end, and for some reason Reed just could not get the pace out of those tires after basically nursing mediums all the way for 40 laps. The softs, for some reason, were his biggest bane.
But Jacob Reed likes this next track coming up. It's one of his favourites. He's won here the last 2 years. The Red Bull Ring here, Craig. How does that make a difference? A completely chalk and cheese circuit in terms of how it drives.
It's speed, and it's more speed. And you've got 2 DRS zones to play with. You've got a lot of opportunities, hard braking, tight corners as well. And then the last few parts of the track, a lot of dirty air and a lot of error wash you have to deal with. So that's the type of track that really worked for Jacob. We kind of saw that earlier when he was in the pack. And I do wonder is that's what's going to help him next time. He needs that ability to get ahead. And also, maybe we'll see some drivers play around with those downforce settings.
Only place you can catch it is here with us on the Global SimRacing Channel as part of a Genesis Extreme production. It's 6:45 UTC. You want to join and jump back in with us. That'll be in 2 weeks' time here in terms of our running. We are in the middle of week 13, but there'll be more running with the brand new season that will come along next week. It'll start, of course, with the Porsche's Owners Club over on the 16th of June or the 15th of June, depending on where you are in the world, over at Willow Springs. So that will be a classic feel for them. Skip Barbers will be jumping back into play on Thursday. They'll be getting their season off and underway over at Okayama. Grand Prix Legends will be over at Mount Panorama in Bathurst, as IMSA Vintage will start their season off over at Phillip Island for what will be an Aussie affair for your Saturday's worth of competition. From the entire team who has brought this show over to you today, from Dougie Beard, from Christian Deploy, from Craig King, my name is Jake Sperry. And drivers are called champions for a reason. That reason is that they can put the impossible to one side and say, all right, bet. I'll lock in, chat. I'll go to that next level. I will be unstoppable, and everyone is just going to have to try and pick their jaws up off of the floor, or actually off of the concrete that is there down in terms of the foundations of the buildings that they sit in, to say that is simply put next level. 19th on the grid, front wing change, race win. He simply put a masterclass on everybody else. Eduardo Rodis right now is saying, it's my championship to defend, and I will go to every ends of the earth to fend it off from Jacob Reed and James Byrne. The next stop on the tour, though, is a trip to Spielberg, and at the moment, it's a case of a shining shield for Eduardo Radice, as he knows he's championship leader by 1 race margin.
This is iRacing.